what I wanted to talk about now was ProjectTemplate. ProjectTemplate is a way of organizing your files so that you can have a reproducible analysis. It's a way of organizing all your data files and your scripts and any dependencies you might have. So it's a really powerful tool for systematizing how you organize your projects. You can learn more about it by going to ProjectTemplate. And the general idea is that if you want to create a new folder structure based on ProjectTemplate, you just run install.project. So that's how you load the package. If you wish to get that package loaded then and create a new project, you add the ProjectTemplate package as a library and you run the create project function. And this will create a whole set of folders and files where you can then add data into the data directory to auto-load, add supporting R scripts into the lib directory, add any data manipulation into the munge directory, and you can add templates and so on. So let's just have a quick look at an example of this. So I've got this thing called assemble project template example. No, actually, I will just say a few more things. Sorry. The other thing I want to say is, as you start using ProjectTemplate, you'll find that you want to customize it in various ways so that you can get up and running even more quickly with things. So I'm going to be kind of showing you a customized version of ProjectTemplate that it includes an RStudio project file, which you can click on it straight away. It includes any libraries that I quite like, but the idea is that you create a template that you like, zip it up, and every time you want to start a new project, you just unzip this file and start putting in your data files and scripts and so on. So the idea is to adapt it over time to the purposes you might have. So if you want more information about this, it's available through these links. And I've got a copy of my template, which you could potentially adapt, or you may want to go back to the original project template format and start adapting from scratch. But I think this is quite a nice example. So as I say, the general workflow is you take this general folder structure, add data to a certain folder, add scripts to a certain folder, add any data manipulations, customize the configuration, and you're ready to go. So it's all very abstract and very quick, but I wanted to kind of show you in a physical example. So where are we? Oops. There we are. So here we've got some raw materials. We've got this zipped up file which has ProjectTemplate, and we've got a data file in SPSS format, and there's also, let's just say, an R script which includes a function that I wanted to import. So say this was your new project. You've been given the California schools data set in SPSS format. What are you going to do? How are you going to get up and running? So this is what I do. I take my little zip file and I unzip it. And there it is. It's created this folder structure. It's got lots of folders, data for data, output, lib for supporting libraries, and so on. I give the folder a name like CAS analysis, and also give the R project file a name like CAS analysis. So that's cool. I move the data file or data files I've got into the data directory. What's going to happen is when I run some code, it's going to automatically import any data in this data directory. And it's going to be given the name equal to the name of the file without the extension. So when it's going to automatically import this SPSS data to a data frame called CAS. So that's really handy. You don't have to remember, oh, how do I read .spss, blah, blah. It'll just ultimately auto-import. You may find also over time you get additional functions that you want to source each time you run analyses. So you can take these scripts and just put them into the lib folder. And they'll be auto-loaded for you. So okay, now I've put my files in there. If I open this project, everything's there, and I've also got, in the reports directory, I've got a basic R Markdown file that's sort of ready to go. The core command that makes everything happen is to load the project template package, and then you run this load project function. And that's going to do a whole pile of things. You can see it's done a whole pile of things. So it's auto-imported that correlation matrix function. It's auto-loaded a whole pile of packages. And to clarify, it's drawn on the specification in this file called global.dcf. So this has a whole bunch of options which you may or may not want to activate, so strings as factors, various things. Instead of having to include a bunch of library statements at the start, you just put them all here in the libraries command. So if you want to add ggplot2, just put it there. If you want to add, I don't know, something else, mass, I don't know. So you can add packages like that, and they're all stored in one place, so they're easy to find. So it's nice, I guess. And they're auto-loaded with this one command. Then you have, so the packages are loaded. You then, it loads in the data sets, so it's auto-loaded CAS. This is just a personal preference. I often have a couple of little ones that I might want to auto-import. And there's CAS. So you haven't have to worry about reading in the data and memorizing what functions to do that. If you wanted to manipulate this data frame, you wanted to add new variables or something like that, the place to put it is in the munge directory. So this is a general thing for, so munge basically means manipulate, mold, alter data. It's a bit of a hacker term. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is what it is. It's hard-coded. And so if you wanted to create a new variable that you're going to use for your reports, you could say CAS, I don't know, students, and you wanted to create log students. That's a new variable. So I could create that, oops, and let R crash. But it doesn't matter because I have nothing in my global workspace, but when I reload the project, it will load the libraries with my options, load the data, run the data manipulation, and sure enough, CAS log students. There it is. So the real benefit of that is all your data manipulation is in one place so that you run that. You come back after a break, you run this one command, library project template, load.project, and you're good to go. Nothing, you don't have to worry about save.image or loading images. You can just run this one command and it will get you up and running so you're sort of back to business in terms of adding little analyses that you might want to do, like plotting something. Something like that. And then when you run knit.html, sure enough, it will load all your background stuff. It's a bit messy, we could probably do without all that stuff, but yeah, and then run all your analyses. So this is kind of like my, it's sort of the overall workflow. There's a bit of learning to get the ins and outs of how Project Template works, but I find you can get up and running in a project in about 5 minutes once you get your head around it, and everything sort of has a place in terms of data folders, outputs, and so on. So yeah, I think it's really, really powerful. So yeah, I guess there's a quick example here, and see whether you can do the same thing with basically creating the folder structure, adding a data set, adding a little bit of a data manipulation, adding a script, see how you go. hopefully you can sort of see the potential of Project Template to sort of organize a workflow, and I think that's one of the hardest things I found in getting started with about where to put everything. And it's a little bit of like practice getting your head around where everything goes, but it can pay off in spades in terms of coordinating everything. And yeah, I mean, if you're curious, I've got a little example here of a more complex project using Project Template. So this was a journal article, and I thought, so essentially I've got my analyses here, which I can load. I can load all the data files here. I've got a range of data manipulation that's going on to score tests and create new variables. In this more complex example, there's a whole pile of libraries that are being used, because just as I went along, I added one more package and one more package that I saw I needed to use one more time, and it grows over time. In the data folder, you've got, that's my cases, that's my participants data, and there was also some metadata for how to score the tests. Yeah, and then you've got all these code chunks. So I read off my participants data, sample size, gender breakdown, and so on. Probably a couple of little points to note is, this is a lot of code to produce descriptive stats and tables. What I'll typically do is, when I want to get a table into Word, so this was a descriptive stats table with alpha, mean, and SD, I'll often write it to a CSV file, so like that. And then that's in the output folder. And then I can just, I don't know what it is, open it up in Excel, and I can go in there and tidy it up, add the lines and row lines and all that sort of stuff, and then paste it into Word or whatever. So that's sort of one workflow for getting tables out. Just write a table to CSV and then sort of pretty it up in Excel and paste it into Word. Yeah. So where are we? Yeah, so that's just an example of a more complex project, which hopefully highlights the potential of RStudio.